Where them Catholics at? Yeah. Yo, where them Catholics at? Man, what's the matter with these bishops?
Bienvenidos de nuevo a otro episodio del programa Católico Convel. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to throw in and see what Ed would do. You wasn't expecting me to be fluent in Spanish, were you?
No comprende. I'll tell you that.
Right. It's okay. I figured I would throw you for a loop today just because I can. And it's not like you're going to walk out from this high-paying gig as it is anyway.
No, it would take a lot more than that.
I'm going to have to step my gang up. I know everybody just got really confused. That's all right, though. You know, they say I was a copywriter and a marketer for years. And you have to understand that when it comes to headlines, you've got less than 3 seconds to capture the attention of your audience. So I hope I just did that.
You did. Now, whether or not they'll stick around, it's another story.
Right. Well, that's what hostage situations are for. Well, I will say the look on your face was incredible. That was awesome.
I thought I logged into the wrong studio there.
Welcome to Telemundo.
Exactly.
No, people sometimes forget, or maybe they're not even aware that my wife's Hispanic, and people online don't really know this, but people who know me in real life, they've met my wife. I've met people on Twitter that have come to my house, and we've kept them here, not against their will, during the holidays, you know, for like Christmas and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is, my wife, her family's from New Mexico. She's so Catholic. Everybody in her, like all of her siblings, her mom, her dad, they're all named after saints. But my wife barely speaks a word of Spanish. And so we go to the grocery store the other day, and I'm like, what are we going to do for Sunday? Well, we were going to do like fish, because we just like fish. But they're like, no, we got this giant ham, right, that we've had frozen for a while. Huge boneless ham. It's like 20 pounds. So let's just do that. Mm-hmm. But we still need to get some carrots, some potatoes, stuff like that. So we're walking around in the store after church, and there's a lot of Hispanics here in my area. And so a couple of them don't speak English, walk up to my wife, and they're asking her questions. And she's looking at them with this blank stare on her face. There's nothing there. And then I turn around and I'm like, oh, okay. And they're asking where, I think it was like where the olive oil or whatever it was, what aisle. And so I tell them and I point, and the look on their faces, my wife wasn't the one to answer, but I was. You know, I'm doing everything I can to work on my tan so I can kind of pass. And my friends, Joel and Abe, have told me that I married into la raza. I abueloed straight in. So I'm an honorary Mexican. But but all of my Spanish comes from, you know, living on the Southwest American border forever, you know, doing general contracting jobs and construction, things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's hilarious, the look on people's faces when in Spanish they're talking to my wife, but then this, you know, you hold a flashlight up to me to give me an x-ray, so white guy just starts talking in Spanish. They're like, oh, wait, something happened. There's a glitch in the matrix. But no, it's hilarious to me, and it never gets old. It's got to be like the longest running gag we've ever had, and it's completely unintentional. But okay, look, everybody was talking this past weekend about old DJT getting shot in the ear and all those armchair quarterbacks with the wildly entertaining conspiracy theories about, if you look at this guy in the crowd, you can tell that he's a super secret squirrel agent who's in on it and all this other kind of stuff. But, you know, none of that really is like a big talking point, at least within the context of Catholicism. You know, it's like, oh, we got to witness, this new generation got to witness an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate. We've never seen one on an actual president in our lifetime for like this newer generation. I would say the millennials, because they started in 1981. And I think that was when Reagan was shot in 81. I know that's when JP2 was shot.
Yeah, same year.
Same year. Okay. I mean, granted, the guy who shot Reagan did it because he wanted to go on a date with Jodie Foster. So that's completely understandable, right? Not even going to hold that against him. Jodie Foster's extremely intelligent, right? I think she's got a doctorate.
She does.
But, right. Anyway, what has got people talking, myself included, in the sphere of Catholicism on social media, is Trump's VP, his pick.
Yeah.
JD Vance, Mr. Hillbilly Elegy, even though last I checked, Ohio is the suburbs of Cincinnati, is not in Appalachia, but okay. You know, I live there. I live in Appalachia now. I'm just saying.
Plenty of hillbillies in Ohio, I'll tell you that.
I'm not saying there's no hillbillies in Ohio. Ohio is that place that I threaten my kids with when they don't want to behave, right? That's like one notch above Canada, right? They don't want to behave. I'm going to take you to Ohio. And it usually does the trick, you know, although they might need therapy. But anyway, JD Vance, he's Catholic. He's a convert. He converted back in 2019. What has got people talking is maybe I should get him on the show before. He's a convert. He might say yes. Good. He might say yes. I kind of enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
You know, haven't read the book, but I saw the movie, so the book's ruined.
He's heard of us, I'm sure, at this point.
Oh, I'm certain he listens to us on a regular basis. You know, he's got all of our episodes clocked to ping on Spotify. But
exactly.
What people are talking about is he is, and I guess so is Donald Trump, the support of the contraceptive, what's it, profisterone, the Plan B pill. Here's a question. If you have two candidates, one is Biden, who is a CNO, Catholic in name only. And then we have Donald Trump, who, as far I know, Melania's Catholic. He's not.
He's not.
And then we have his VP, JD Vance, who is a Catholic convert. The GOP and the Democratic Party have both decided to go super soft on the issue of abortion. Now, listen, I understand that if you want to get in power, there is some compromises that have to be made to your bases. All that being said, on a scale of eternity, it still doesn't matter. You can't be like, well, I did the bad thing for a good reason. It literally states that you can't do that. Right? Now, obviously, you know, I wrote an article today and released it about Peter. Peter screwed up so many times, denied Christ 3 times. But there's this beautiful thing called grace and redemption, where failure's not the end, right? So the question is, can a Catholic in good conscience, while avoiding the state of sin, cast their vote for a pro-abortion politician? And I say pro-abortion because pro-choice is just hedging, right? It's like, well, I would have softened the language. You know what? You're soft in the pants. Say what you mean. It's pro-abortion. You've got 2 choices. You've got Biden, you've got Trump. These are our 2 nominees. We do not have another choice. outside of don't vote. So can a Catholic vote for a pro-abortion candidate? You and I have had this discussion before, not so much this particular discussion, but when I was talking about how I've never voted, and it wasn't until Trump got shot at that I registered to vote, and I plan on voting.
Good.
The question was that, and you made me think differently about this, which left me in kind of a, I want to say a conundrum, a state of moral conundrum. If there is no birth, if you end the human life, then there are no human rights or human dignity to push for or defend, which that logically makes sense. The basis of all of our human rights begins at the fact that we're alive, because dead people don't have rights.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have an answer in this that isn't tough, suck it up. Right? So I'm looking for another perspective here on what you think on this. You've got two choices. You can vote for Biden, who's a C-no, openly for abortion. He actually regards abortion as a reproductive health measure, which I didn't know killing people was, a health measure. But, I'm not as smart as these politicians. Learn something new every day. And then you have Trump and Vance, who appear to be passively supportive of abortion and Plan B contraception, which is ultimately an abortion if a life were to be conceived after the act of consummation.
Sure.
So what's a Catholic to do here?
Well, first, let's go back. You said that dead people don't have rights, but they kind of do, because you can be charged with abuse of a corpse. So there you go. So actually, dead people do have some rights, I guess. Anyway, but that's not.
That was not the answer I expected you to lead with, but okay, here we are. Sure. And Ed froze himself out for some reason. No?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I got
Don't know what
very
that was.
excited there. But what is going on here?
I don't know.
In any case, but here's the you have to think. You have to think outcomes here, and so if you're going to say you're not going to vote for Joe Biden because he supports abortion, he supports it for any reason through all 9 months of pregnancy. Obviously supports use of the abortion pill. He just actually for the last 3.5 years about abortion, and also, once Roe v. Wade was overturned, he's tweeted about that at least monthly, about how he wants to codify abortion on a national level. But so if you were to say you're not going to vote for him for that, I certainly respect that and applaud that. And I certainly wouldn't vote for him, and that would be a major reason. But if you say that you're not going to vote for Trump and Vance because they've kind of slightly changed the Republican platform lately to throw support behind the abortion pill, I would take issue with that, only because you have to vote for somebody, regardless of your thoughts, regardless of where you stand. Come November, we are going to have either another 4 years of the president who's in there now, or we're going to have a new president. And so you have to say, well, what is going to be best for the country regarding that issue? And I was just actually reading an article this morning about that, about how, and I know, what do we, there's somewhere between 850,000, 900,000 abortions performed in the U.S. annually. And I was reading that the Republican platform, as it stands, actually reduces the number of abortions annually by 150, 190,000. So to me, okay, you call it the lesser of two evils if you want, call it whatever you want, but it's better than the alternative. Now, of course, the best, if there was a candidate who said, I am 100% against abortion, no matter what form it takes, I would vote for that person. But that person doesn't exist. So we have to be realistic and say, well, I've got to vote then for the person who's going to be closer to that standard. And you certainly can't, I mean, you don't see Donald Trump tweeting on a daily basis his support of abortion like you do with Biden and with Kamala Harris. I mean, to me, that's pure evil. If you're gonna base your whole, he keeps saying things like, we're gonna show the America how strong the women's vote is come November, because every woman who supports abortion is going to vote for me. I mean, that's a pretty disgusting take on the issue, I think. But so can you vote for a candidate who basically a massive part of their platform is abortion and granting abortion to anyone at any time for any reason? I would say no. Can you vote for someone who says, well, I'm not for totally outlawing abortion, but I do think there should be restrictions? In this case, you would have to say yes, because like I said, what is the alternative? There is no other candidate who's throwing their hat in the ring, or at least no serious candidate. Because also, let's say there was a third party candidate who came on and said just what I had said earlier, that I support no abortion on any level. Okay, it might seem the moral thing to do to vote for that person, but if you do the research and you realize they have about a 0.6% chance of getting elected, then I think you're kind of throwing away your vote, and you're opening the door for an abortion extremist to get in. So I think you have to do what you can do on an individual level, on an individual basis, to reduce the amount of abortion that takes place.
So how do you reconcile that with, I'm casting my vote for someone who still supports abortion, versus casting my vote for someone who is outright against abortion, and then at the same time turn around and not feel like you compromised on your own morals, on what the Catholic Church teaches us? Now, I'm asking this because I have an absolutist point of view when it comes to the teachings of the church, when it comes to God's law, as all Catholics should. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult for me, and maybe this is why I failed sociology. But it's difficult for me to reconcile casting my vote for someone who's going to be in support of abortion and me placing that person in power, should my vote, actually count. I don't even know if it does. And that person be elected. And then I see the abortions that take place underneath that person's administration because they supported it. I can't help but feel that Catholic guilt of, some culpability here, that, yeah, okay, if I had voted for the person who was going to be an absolutist, zero abortion, I'm talking Seinfeld's, Seinfeld's no abortion for you, the soup guy, the soup Nazi, that was him, right?
That was soup Nazi, but the abortion one was the guy who owned the restaurant, and they went there and had to duck. That was
yeah.
Poppy.
I remember.
Poppy was his name.
But at the same time, I feel like I didn't compromise on my faith. But
Yeah,
then there's
but
also,
so
but then
yeah.
there's like there's the scenario that you said. We get 4 more years of Biden with
Yeah.
a harsher push for unmitigated abortion across the world. And then we have, on the other hand, Trump comes in. Perhaps the states retain the level of power that they have. As far as, like, for South Carolina, we went from 1,400 abortions a day to now we're less than 200 a month.
Yeah.
Because of the restrictions that we placed. So we're looking at, thousands of lives saved. And so okay, there's less in the long run. So I get what you're saying about looking at outcomes.
Yeah.
But how do you reconcile that with yourself without feeling like you've compromised on something? Like, the thought of it makes me go, damn it, I need to go to confession for even thinking about voting for someone who's going to be in support of abortion.
Well, because and there might be people that would disagree with me on this, but I think we also have an obligation as a Catholic to participate in political process wherever it
Of
happens
course we
to
do.
be.
And voting for a third party member, because of your moral convictions, is participation.
It is participation, but there has to be a reality attached to it. And the
Right.
reality
the reality to me, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, the reality to me is that God didn't say it's okay to support evil if it's the lesser of two.
No. But listen, I would also look at it this way. And you mentioned how you even talk about South Carolina and how there's been a great reduction in abortions there. You look at Texas, who was one of they were really in the forefront of greatly restricting abortion once Roe v. Wade collapsed, and it's literally tens of thousands of babies who have not been aborted because of that, and there are other states that have a similar story, and I think that it starts at the top. If you look at it, that all was triggered by a Supreme Court decision. In the same manner, if you have the party in power in the White House that is at least supportive of restricting abortion, there are many ways where that trickles down into state politics, because obviously now the decisions are being made on a state level anyway. But if you have, you're more likely then to have support for those type of restrictions, I think. So again, I mean, I know what you're saying is that, if there was, the thing of it is that again, going back to reality, yeah, I mean, okay, if there's a third party candidate who says that I am 100% against abortion in any way, shape, or form, I would have no issue with you voting for that person, because you would be doing what you felt morally obligated to do. But as far as I know, there is no third party candidate who's taking that position. So it becomes a moot point, really. And so therefore you have to default back to, well, who's going to do the least amount of damage as far as that issue is concerned. And I think that obviously, we know who that would be. You've got a party that, and look at what, I forget which state it was. It was in the Northeast, and I don't want to say because I'll get it wrong. But it was in the Northeast a couple weeks ago, and the state actually took. Oh, you know what it was? It's because it was Massachusetts, because it was with Elizabeth Warren, who has been fighting desperately to shut down pregnancy centers.
Yeah, the crisis pregnancy centers.
The crisis pregnancy centers, and as a state, they are the state is they're using taxpayer money to put out advertising, or whatever you want to call it, saying these are evil people. They're not telling you the truth. I mean, okay, they're telling you that you have an option not to kill your child. That seems pretty truthful to me.
Right.
But
we did a whole episode on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I mean, this is pure evil. So there is, whereas I might not agree with the stance that either Donald Trump would take or that J.D. Vance would take, I at least can get behind the fact that they are in favor of putting some restrictions on this, while the other side of the aisle says, not only do we not want to put restrictions on abortion, but we basically want to recommend abortion. We want to suggest abortion. We want to put abortion forth as like an awesome thing and something you should probably always consider doing. I mean, if you've seen some of the rhetoric that comes out of there, I mean, I follow Planned Parenthood on X. I follow some of these whack job politicians on X who basically are like, oh, pregnant? Don't even think about it. You got to abort. You know, it's insane to me. But you've got that. To me, it's a black and white situation. Whereas, okay, is voting for the right perfect? No, but show me, go all the way back to Washington and show me an election where you 100% agreed with everything that a particular party or a particular candidate said. I don't think
right.
that
well,
exists.
Was an Anglican, so he's like definitely out.
Well, there you go. But I think you know what I'm saying is that, I mean, listen, it's a
Listen, I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, and I do think it speaks more to the state of our society as a whole than it does anything else, that we have reached a point in our society where the battleground issue is the sanctioned murder of unborn children. And it's gotten to the point where, because the moral ambiguity on the issue is so far widespread that you can't have a single side with enough potential voters that will be in favor of not murdering babies.
Yeah.
I think that speaks more as about our society as a whole than it does anything else, that we cannot get a single candidate that can come up on stage and say, by the time my term ends, I will have done everything that I possibly could to outlaw abortion in its fullest and be able to have a chance of winning.
I mean, I think that we're in a day and age now where you have to throw your support behind any candidate who doesn't come across as being 100% completely morally bankrupt. We've actually gotten to that point. I mean, a case in point, you look at the last 2 days, the number of people who were outed on X for actually being disappointed that Donald Trump wasn't murdered. And then you look at, and okay, like if it's going to be some high school kid who's got an account on X, or some really far left radical nut who says, damn, you know, hopefully next time he's a better shot, that'd be something. But it's literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who've been outed on X as wishing death on a presidential candidate, who are doctors and lawyers and nurses and elementary school teachers and college professors. And it goes on, and grandmothers and grandfathers, and these people that are literally getting on social media and wishing for the death. I mean, I am no fan of Joe Biden. I think he's a despicable, horrible human being. Some of his takes on life issues are just horrible. And the fact that he calls himself a Catholic is an embarrassment to me. I would never wish any harm to him. I would never wish death upon him. All I wish is that he doesn't win the election coming in November. That's the only thing I wish regarding him. I would never get on social. I don't want anyone to do it in my head. Say, damn, I wish that guy would just keel over already, or I wish someone would take him out. That's deplorable. That's disgusting. But we live in a society that is not only existing, but it's in some corner it's applauded. It's It's mainstream. It's not unusual for your kid's third grade teacher to be a psychopath. It's not unusual for your kid's college professor to stand up in front of the class and say, "I wish someone would murder the former president." This is the world we live in, and so that's what I'm saying. So if you get a candidate who at least has some sort of a moral compass, which I think Trump to an extent and JD Vance to a slightly greater extent, I think they do have a moral compass. Man, they're getting my vote only because they at least show some signs of sympathy and empathy, and I don't even know what else to say about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it makes sense what you're saying. It's not an easy decision. I mean, look, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump in November.
Yeah.
I'm going to. But me doing that does not come with the absence of me feeling like I'm compromising. And honestly, I believe it's something I would seriously need to discuss with a priest, because I hear everything you're saying. I hear everything other people have said on the matter. Oh, you got to be realistic. They're politicians. Politicians are just as beholden to the same Catholic doctrine as a plumber or a hobo, right? And historically, the church has made a soft approach towards politicians who are in support of abortion. But now we've got a Catholic candidate, and we have a Catholic incumbent who have yet to be denied the Eucharist because of their stance on abortion.
Yeah.
And look, if we want to just boil it down to that one singular issue, being denied the source and summit of our faith based upon being in a state of mortal sin. If the American bishops wanted to, what is it? I think it's C915. And did not do it on a completely nonpartisan or bipartisan level.
Mm-hmm.
And with the understanding saying, yes, I get it. You're a politician. It's damn near impossible for you to be completely opposed within the confines of the Catholic faith on abortion. But for as long as because if you did decide to do that, you would no longer be a politician, right? Or at least you would no longer be a successful politician. So with that understanding, following Christ requires everything from us. I do not believe any politician, if they are in support of abortion, are in a state of grace, and therefore should not be able to receive the Eucharist until they repent, because that's the standard that applies to me.
Yeah, and I like that because Nancy Pelosi's bishop doesn't allow her to receive. I applaud that. But we have all these Catholics,
but we have all these Catholics screaming and yelling for Biden to not be allowed to take communion.
Yeah.
That same standard, whether or not they're going to vote for the man, should apply to JD Vance if he's going to be in support of the Eucharist. And I'll tell you what, if he's going to be in support of abortion, he should be denied the Eucharist. Now, if he's saying I'm open to being in support of this and that and the other, and then when he's in office, he goes, just kidding, gonna ban it all. Cool, fine. Then you go, you repent, you go to confession, you give your penance. You're more than welcome to receive the body, blood, divinity, and soul of our Lord in the Eucharist. But I don't understand why there would be a possible difference. Well, he should still be allowed to take the Eucharist because he's doing the best he can as a politician. There's not two different sets. There's not two different sets of standards here.
No.
If you're in support of abortion or you're helping to facilitate abortion, you are in a state of grave sin. Therefore, you cannot receive because you are not in a state of grace.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously I agree with that position. And I think that any politician should fall into that same kind of thought process. But, and people will say to me like, oh, if you're in favor of a priest withholding the Eucharist from a politician who presents himself because he's aware of their stance on abortion, well, then that's being hypocritical, because then probably no one should be receiving, because everyone who's there, they're cheating on their taxes, they're having an affair, they're doing this, they're doing that. And my response is that decision if the politician is being withheld communion, it's because they publicly stated their position. There's no gray area. The priest knows, hey, you tweeted yesterday, I'm for abortion through all 9 months. Therefore, I cannot.
Versus the random guy who's lying through his teeth saying, oh yeah, I'm in a state of grace, and then goes up there and receives. Now, because look, my daughter was almost denied the Eucharist last Sunday because she forgot to say amen.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It's supposed to be that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's supposed to be like,
yeah.
He reminded her, you're supposed to say amen. Say amen. And she said amen. Yeah. And what's funny is she actually did say it, but the organ's going off and he didn't hear it. But he was like, whoa, you got to say amen. And then she received. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she got a little, made me feel kind of bad because it sounded like he yelled at me. I'm like, okay, but he's protecting Christ.
That's good. Yeah. Okay? No, that's good.
You gotta understand that. Right. And I'm pretty sure, that's literally all it was, because he's probably one of the coolest dudes ever. And he does this exact same thing to his own children.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a priest, but the deacon, right? Because he doesn't have children. Father Longenecker does.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, he does. My priest, Father Yuri, does.
Right. But it would be the same thing. But the point I'm saying is, like, if I go up there and I'm like, right before I receive the Eucharist, I go, by the way, I support abortion. He's going to go, no.
Exactly.
Cross your arms. You're blessed. Now, get out of here. I'll see you on Wednesday or Saturday for confession, buddy.
Sure.
And that's the way it should be. It's not hypocritical that the priest would deny a politician the Eucharist.
No.
When the politician's stance on abortion is public knowledge versus, well, he's given it to that guy and he secretly hasn't told anybody that he's okay. Well, that's on that guy's soul. It's not making the priest complicit in giving the Eucharist to someone outside of a state of a grace knowingly.
Yeah.
That's the difference. If you can't figure that out, please don't vote this November, because we definitely need people of a certain IQ level.
Yeah, it's true.
Just say it.
No, I hear you.
But that's where I am. Like, I'm having a hard time reconciling it, because I know that if I vote for a third party, because listen, I know if I vote for a third party candidate, unless everybody else just does the voting for Trump for me, we've got another 4 years of Biden. And honestly, I would rather wipe my back end with a cheese grater than see that. Now, sounds more fun. I don't want to see more fun. But in voting for Trump, there is still that one little inkling that it's a candidate who is in support of abortion. It's still there.
Certain form.
It's still there, regardless of, well, it's the lesser. And last time I checked, God's law was absolute. So what it does is it places us humans in a very hard place when it comes to decisions that need to be made. And, it's for the greater good. We're all connected. Yes, I talk about that all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the lesser of two evils on an eternal level considered the greater good.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is that you're talking about like having to make concessions or compromise. But I don't see it that way, because compromise is if there's two parties that are working something out, and each party makes concessions so that you support A, they support C, so you agree on B. You don't have this choice. We have an A and a B. There's no way to make a concession. You're not coming together in the middle somewhere. There's one thing or there's the other. There's no middle ground. So that's why, that's how, like you were talking about, like that you'd feel some, like that Catholic guilt or whatever that we talk about voting for Trump. And I don't, because like I say, it's not like there is another option. It's not like I'm voting for Trump.
The other option.
Yeah.
The other option is to not participate.
But that's not an option.
If you have two evil choices, now just humor me here.
Sure.
If you have evil A, evil B, or C, don't choose either evil. Wouldn't the moral choice be to not choose either evil?
Wouldn't the moral choice be because you're going to want, regardless of how you vote, A, B, or C, you're going to wind up with A or B. Of course. That is a given.
But you're not complicit in it.
But I think by not voting, you are complicit if A, the more evil gets in.
Or are you? Or are you?
You are. Because you're in, by not voting for B, you're increasing the chances of A getting in. So if A is the more evil person, there you go. You are complicit. That's why I get upset. I know so many people that say to me, I haven't voted for years. What's the point? I say, there is a point. If you're trying to because the thing of it is, you're trying to change the direction of either a nation or your state or your local authorities. And if you don't participate, they're just going to keep going down the same path they're going down. I'm not saying that you can have them make a complete hard left or a hard right turn, but your participation is going to at least get a little bit of a curve going there in the right direction. And that's sometimes all you can hope for,
Which is why I'm voting the way I'm voting, but it doesn't
Absolutely.
change the internal feeling and the inner conflict that I have on the matter.
The only difference between us is that I don't have inner conflict. I know that morally I'm voting for, okay, maybe it sounds stupid to say morally I'm voting for the lesser of two evils, but I am. And in this case, I think that's the only option you have. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're, I don't even know what to say. There are so many times in life where you are.
Here's the thing. It's circular logic. It is circular logic. And I'm aware of it. But it's still something that exists. Yeah.
It's like, look, okay, here's this. You've got a situation where you are, and I know this is an extreme situation, but it does prove the point. You're a prisoner of war in some crazy country that these people have no laws, no regulations. They're not supporting the Geneva Convention or anything like that. You're being held prisoner, okay? Prisoner of war. And they want you to make this film, that they're gonna make a propaganda deal about it, and they're gonna have you say, "Oh, America is a dirty pig, and they are horrible people, and I fully reject it. I am an American citizen." Blah blah blah. They say either you make that, or the 3 people that are in your cell with you, we're gonna shoot and kill them. Now, is it morally correct to make that propaganda film for them, saying that America is a country of pigs, and I reject my citizenship and blah blah blah? No, it's not. But it's probably the right thing to do because you're sparing 3 people's lives, right? I know that's an extreme position, but I mean, sometimes
what it boils down to, even my own inner dilemma, it's the trolley problem.
The trolley problem, yes.
It's the trolley problem. Do you throw the switch and kill 1 person to save 3?
Yeah.
Because if you don't act, then you're still, by omission of action, killing the 1.
Yeah.
It's the trolley problem.
You can't just, sometimes you're put in those positions and you can't just wipe your hands of it and say, well, I'm not complicit because I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what, it really does feel like the Kobayashi Maru. And I know I just really nerded myself here. It does feel it feels like the Kobayashi Maru, right? I need to be able, there's this inner need to be like, hey, God, can you rewrite the code so that it is a winning solution? It's really hard, right? But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only person that feels this way. There are plenty that go, well, damn, I feel this way too, and I don't know how to reconcile it, but I have to vote for this guy, and I'm going to just kind of like, try to get on by with it a little bit. I know I'm not the only one, right? Yeah. And if I am, that's the first time I've been the only one at anything. So someone give me a friggin' trophy, okay?
Exactly.
But no, seriously, I know I'm not the only one. And I don't know, I spent a lot of my life promoting moral ambiguity and moral subjectivity. Yeah. I wrote 2 friggin' books about it.
Yeah.
In favor of it. I know. I'm so glad you paid for them, so I don't care what you did with them. Isn't that what Eazy-E said when they were stomping on all the NWA records? I don't care what they did. They paid for it.
Like that. Exactly.
Right. So on this episode, we've covered abortion, the Eucharist, Eazy-E, and Star Trek. This is great.
It's good.
And stuff. I opened it speaking fluent Spanish and scared the crap out of Ed.
I mean, this is Peabody Award stuff. I think that's a thing.
It is. Right. I don't know.
It's
Pulitzer? No, I'm not really reporting.
No, it's not Pulitzer. It's daytime Emmy. I don't know what it is. It's something. But
I'll take a daytime Emmy. That works.
I would take it. But here's the problem. Just to wrap that part up, though, is that here's the thing: is that thanks to our parents, Adam and Eve, there is evil in the world. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So therefore, we just have to deal with the fact that there is going to be a little bit of evil in the world, in ourselves, in the people that we know, in our candidates, everywhere. There's going to be that little bit of evil that creeps in. It's our fallen human nature. And so therefore, based on that, I'm saying, okay, I can vote for this person because there is not the perfect person. If Jesus shows up and he throws his in the ring, he's got my vote. But barring Jesus showing up and running for president of the U.S., we've got to do it. We've got to, you know what I'm saying? We've got to do what we got to do.
Oh, I get it. Like I said, it's an unfortunate reality, and I know who I'm voting for. But it doesn't change the fact that I still feel that moral confliction, that moral conflict on I'm indirectly or directly supporting a candidate who supports abortion in any form, which that's sinful, right? And okay, if we segment it, if we compartmentalize it, and we say, I get it. The politicians are doing what the politicians got to do, because that's the way the world is, and politics are a very worldly issue. Catholicism isn't. I'm glad you and I see eye to eye on the, I get it, you're doing what you got to do, but you're in a state of mortal sin. You cannot receive the Eucharist. You know, and people don't, and people don't like seeing those two things as mutually exclusive, but they are.
Yeah.
They cannot be reconciled. Well, he's under a different standard because he's a Catholic politician. No, there's no addendum, in there. It's like, you must be in a state of grace unless you needed more votes. That's not how it works. So
no,
I can understand that part, but it's yeah. I mean, if the same standard applies to me, and the standard given by God, that I have to be in a state of grace in order to receive the Eucharist, then I can be denied the Eucharist, or I'm committing a sacrilege and an abuse of the sacrament. If I'm not, then that needs to apply all around, because it does apply, even if other people think it doesn't. It's like God's laws apply to atheists too. They just don't agree with it.
Exactly. True. Very true.
Yeah. Doesn't change anything. Well, I don't think it does. No one gives a what you think. But all right. Let's go. And I want to see that shiny thing you brought today. It's been a great discussion.
So now, big question is what I brought. Is it a pocket watch? I'm going to say no. It is not a pocket watch. What I did bring, though, I went back to the archives and brought up one of my first class relics. And this one, hopefully this is going to show up. This is actually a fragment of bone, first class relic from Saint Marguerite de Youville. Now, Saint Marguerite, she was born in Varennes, Canada, and she had to interrupt her schooling at the age of 12 to help her widowed mother. 8 years later, she married Francois de Youville. They had 6 children together. 4 of them died while they were very young. And despite the fact that her husband gambled, sold liquor illegally to Native Americans, and treated her indifferently, which is to say he was nasty to her, she cared for him compassionately until his death in 1730. So she was caring for 2 small children, running a store to help pay off her husband's debts after his death, and she still managed to find time to help the poor. Once her children were grown, she and several companions rescued a Quebec hospital that was in danger of failing. She called her community the Institute of the Sisters of Charity of Montreal, but we better know them as the Grey Nuns because of the color of their habits. In time, a proverb arose among the poor people of Montreal: go to the Grey Nuns, they never refuse to serve. And in time, 5 other religious communities traced their roots to the Grey Nuns. The General Hospital in Montreal became known as the Hotel Dieu, which is the House of God, and set a standard for medical care and Christian compassion. When the hospital was destroyed by fire in 1766, Marguerite knelt in the ashes, led the Te Deum, which is a hymn to God's providence in all circumstances, and began the rebuilding process. She fought the attempts of government officials to restrain her charity, sounds very familiar, and established the first foundling home in North America. Pope St. John XXIII, who beatified Marguerite in 1959, called her the Mother of Universal Charity. She was canonized in 1990, and her liturgical feast is celebrated on October 16th. So again, this is a first-class relic from St. Marguerite de Youville, the founder of the Grey Nuns. And it just happens to be in this very beautiful enclosure with an image of her on the outside. That's what you saw on X earlier today.
It looked a lot bigger on camera.
it's all done with smoke and mirrors and camera angles and stuff. But
the camera
know,
added about 3 inches to it.
It really did. But yeah, and this
looked like
this
a
was
pocket
a
watch.
relic, which was this is a relic that was received from Grey Nuns, and much appreciated. So there you go.
Nice.
The Margaret, to you,
That's
Bill.
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we know that's 3 first class relics that you've brought. So I'm assuming there's at least 12 other guys that we haven't or gals that we haven't met on the show yet.
Well, that's St. Margaret de Youville, and I brought in St. John Neumann. Did I bring another one in? I did.
I thought you did.
I don't know if I did. I better look back over the records because I don't want to bring them back again if I did. But yeah, there's a lot more in the archives down there. Still haven't brought up any of the skulls of saints, but it's coming. And I do have St. Jude's hand down there somewhere.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Is that why there was nothing but the finger traveling around all the parishes?
Exactly. See, I got the rest of it. I've got it kind of like this.
I did see that. I can't remember where it was, but there was a relic of St. Mary Magdalene that was stolen recently.
I saw that too. Yeah, I got to remember.
Yeah, so
that's terrible.
You were the first person I suspected.
Good thing I didn't bring up my Mary Magdalene relic. But I'll tell you, there's like certain things that you can do in life that I'm thinking first class ticket to hell. I'd imagine like stealing relics would probably be on that list somewhere.
Probably.
Especially if you, because you got to figure if someone they're gonna either steal it so they can sell it for a big profit, or hold it ransom or something, or because they want to do something nasty to it, as to be sacrilegious. So any of those concepts is not a good idea, I would think.
Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah,
but all right.
St. Margaret de Youville. I actually worked with some Grey Nuns years ago I was running the container stock at a local nursery, and there was a Grey Nuns outfit not too far from there, and some of the nuns actually worked for me because to make money for their convent there. And so I used to have great lunchtime conversations. Oh, it was so much fun. Really wonderful women. Know
Well, looks like we're out of time. I'm not going to end the episode in Spanish again, just because I know it will never be the exact same reaction that I got at the beginning of the episode.
We'll end it in French. El fin. Or something like that.
Yeah, sure. Je m'appelle as Jeff. Yeah.
Whoa, even better. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, though. One of the most beautiful languages out there is German.
Yeah, try not to have a Russian.
No. It's like, I want to call you an ambulance. Und der Krankenwagen? Yeah, it's a Krankenwagen. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful language. Not all quite as beautiful as Latin, though. At least ecclesial Latin.
Whoa.
It's the most beautiful and perfect language out there. Very good stuff. But all right.
Wonderful.
Tell you what, you guys who watch this, you guys who listen to this, want to know your thoughts on the comments. So drop them, quote tweet them. If you think I'm an idiot, quote tweet that too. I'll reboost you just because the impressions get me paid more to buy more cigars because I'm down to my last one. But until tomorrow, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And don't forget to send this to all your anti-Catholic friends.
God bless everybody.